Hey everybody, Levi here with OSU IT. I'm the Assistant Director of Prospective Students and I'm so glad that you all are joining us today. We are here in the Electrical Construction program to do a live virtual tour and let you all see what really goes on here in the Electrical Construction program here at OSU IT. Whether you're joining us live or if you're watching this later on, please feel free to ask any questions that you have in the comments. We want to get those answered for you and get that information back to you so that you get all of it and you don't miss anything. With that being said, if you have any friends or family that you think would benefit from watching this, please share it with them so that they're able to see it as well. And make sure you like and follow the Friends of Pete on social media so that you can see more of these videos in the future. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our awesome electrical construction instructor and let him tell you about the program. Heath?
Hello, I'm Heath Moscow. I've been teaching here for about 5 years. This is electrical construction. It is an associate's degree. So usually if I was doing a tour, we'd come in, shake hands. So I got to be careful with shaking hands right now. But anyway, the electrical construction program is a degree program. So it is not about just being the average electrician. It's actually more about working toward a pathway to a leadership position in the electrical field. So our graduates, although they still have to go through their apprenticeship and put in time in the field, they definitely are going to be prepared for leadership positions after they get through that time in the field. Whereas somebody that just goes directly into the field, they may go into the field and work for 4 or 5 years, then get their journeyman license, and then work several years and get into leadership positions after several years. But the pathway that we try to set forth whenever we have our electrical students that are coming through and getting their associate's degree is that they would be on the pathway, that they would move into those leadership positions three or so years after school, get their journeyman license, and then after a couple more years be able to move into a position where they're in a leadership role in the company. That's not going to happen with every student, but that's the goal and the pathway that we're trying to promote. Again, because this is an associate's degree, it is more about the leadership and the knowledge that it takes to be in those leadership positions. Okay, we're going to go through everything in our program from residential to commercial to industrial. It is the pathway of residential is not the direction that most of our students are going to go. They're mostly going to go into commercial and industrial. But we do hit the residential to some extent because it is a foundation. There's a lot of foundational information in that. Job opportunities. The electrical field is so huge. There's so many different directions that they can go. They could go into, like I said, residential, commercial, industrial construction. They could go into industrial electrical maintenance. They could get into electrical marketing. They could be an engineer's assistant in designing electrical projects. Also, they could get into working in energy management systems, working in low voltage electrical fields such as fire alarm and security and things like that. Okay, again, the purpose of the course is that they would move toward a leadership role. Whenever the program was originally designed, there was a lot of thought of creating a program that would set people on a pathway to owning their own business. So That's what the program was originally designed for. But there is so many opportunities in larger companies to move up into leadership roles that you could actually make really good money. So the instructors that we have, that helps with this. A lot of the classes that I teach are going to be the classes that get you through the basics of the electrical field and prepare you for the things that you might do as an apprentice, along with setting a strong foundation for moving forward in the electrical field. And then a lot of the classes that are throughout the second year are going to be taught by the construction management, by our other electrical instructor that is going to teach a lot of the in-depth calculations and the codes, and estimating, which is a vital part if you are going to own your own business, or if you're going to be in a leadership position. That management and estimating is huge. So the course layout for the program is that we would start out with Introduction to Electrical Trades and Electrical Theory, which is our AC/DC class. That AC/DC class is huge, setting the foundation again for the basic fundamentals of how electricity works. It's impossible to truly understand how the code works, to truly understand why we do the things that we do if we don't understand the basic electrical theory of how electricity works. In our Introduction to Electrical Trades class, we go over all the different licensing requirements, the basics of tools in the electrical field, just get into the real basics of what you're going to be doing as an electrician and the many pathways that you can take as an electrician. And then we get into, in the second semester, we're going to get into motor controls, get into electrical wiring methods, and take them to the next level somewhat. And then in the third semester, we get our Methods 2, which is our commercial wiring class, and they get the wiring methods that are used in commercial. And then also in that semester, they're going to do a construction safety class, which will give them their OSHA 30 card, which is huge. Something that's very important out in the field. Also, they're going to take mechanical systems in their third semester, which is important for leadership roles in the electrical field, that they understand what's being done around them. As an electrician, there's so much more than just what the electrician is doing. We want to be able to understand the whole construction project to some extent. If we only know what we're doing and don't have any idea of what everybody's doing around us, then it's going to be hard for us to be in leadership roles, because as leaders in companies, you're going to have to work with every other field and be able to coordinate with every other field. So that's something that's huge. We have our construction management instructors, like I said, that also teach several of the classes in the program. So that brings in that extra element of knowledge, and then we also have at times some of our ACR refrigeration instructors will teach some of our classes as well. So we're getting a variety of knowledge that's available to the students. More knowledge than any one man, no matter how much experience or how much time he's had. There is so much available knowledge whenever we're working with several experts in different areas. Then we get in then after we get through those classes, along with some gen eds, because it is an associate's degree and we are trying to promote the well-rounded individual. At OSUIT, we have core outcomes for every student, and then we also have core outcomes for the specific programs. So we're wanting our students to just be completely well-rounded and ready for leadership roles around the whole spectrum. So we also, in the first year, we're going to get into blueprints, construction blueprints in general. So again, we want our students to have a knowledge of the whole job, not just the electrical part of it. But in all of our classes, we're going to incorporate some electrical plans. So they're going to get electrical plans throughout, and then they're also going to get that blueprints class that's for construction in general. So once they've finished that first year, then they're going to go on an internship. That internship is paid. There's multiple companies throughout Oklahoma and through several parts of Texas that our students go to. They generally make anywhere from about 13 to some actually around 22 an hour on their internship. So great pay while you're basically in school. So that's a pretty awesome aspect. Another important aspect of the internship is that it's giving the students an idea of what they're getting into, and then when they come back from that internship, they have so much more insight, so many more questions, so we can get into things that we weren't able to promote before because they had no idea what we was talking about. But that paid internship is really awesome for the experience. And then as they come back in the second year, we start getting a little more into more advanced controls such as PLCs. We're also going to get into the industrial wiring methods, so that gets pretty advanced to some extent. But then as they get into the fifth semester, they get into the National Electrical Code and into the calculations class. So in running an electrical company or being an estimator project manager for a company, it's going to be very important that you have a real in-depth understanding of the National Electrical Code. It's huge as for any electrician to have a basic knowledge of the National Electrical Code and a basic knowledge of the electrical calculations, just so you can pass your journeyman exam. But we want our students to be so far beyond just what it takes for them to pass the journeyman exam. We want an in-depth understanding of the National Electrical Code. And then in the final semester, they're going to go on another internship, and then they're going to take the capstone class, which is going to incorporate everything that they've learned so far, and then also it's going to get into estimating electrical projects, which is, again, a huge part of the leadership in electrical companies. So then, now we are moving toward getting a lot of our second year classes. What can be online is moving to online and with some virtual meetings, so that the students in those last couple of semesters, besides their internship, are able to continue to work in the electrical field, continuing to get electrical experience while continuing to make money So that prepares them even so much more for the electrical field once they graduate. Okay, so that's kind of a little bit of a rundown on our courses. Several courses that I haven't mentioned, but it is set up with the courses designed toward running an electrical company or being in a leadership role in an electrical company. So job placement rate for our students is huge. This semester, even with everything that was going on, we've still been able to get placement for our internships, and generally most years, whenever we don't have something going on like we have right now, there's way more internship opportunities than there is students. Same way at graduation, there's way more opportunities than we have students to fill. And pay tends to be pretty good. The average electrician in nationwide is somewhere around $50,000. Our graduates right out of school, on average, with their overtime, are making close to right around that number, and some even well beyond that number. Whereas generally, electricians are not going to make that number till they get their license. But then once they get their license, then they're able to move up and make well beyond that. No limits to what an electrician can make as far as if they're running a business. It's all about how well they run their business. Being in leadership roles, it's not uncommon to be in a leadership role in a large electrical company and make six figures. So those are the type of positions that we're promoting our students to move into. So let's take a little walk through our lab here. So starting out with in our wiring methods classes and our introduction classes, we're going to get into understanding different devices and how they work together. So completing branch circuits, we're going to put in all different devices in these boxes. We've got, by using different plates, different mud rings or RS covers, we can do so many different configurations, and then the students can get their circuit from a source, from the circuit breaker, and then go through and complete a circuit just in multiple ways. Also, we've incorporated some contactors, and so they're going to get also some contactors, time clocks with that as well. So we've got all these different devices that they can go through and configure different three-way, four-way circuits that are controlled by photo eye, circuits that are several circuits being used through a contactor. So we use the different rings where they can have lights or individual devices or multiple yoke devices. So we can get several devices all through the work on these trainers here. So then as they get through some of the basics on these boards in our methods classes, we're going to learn more about three-phase panels and how they work, different controls, different types of disconnects, protecting our equipment through CTs, through fuses and circuit breakers. So then we also have these pedestals for RVs that they're going to get basic troubleshooting knowledge of. Then in our wiring methods classes, we go over how to use multiple tools. Again, this is things that they'll learn in their methods 1, 2, and 3 classes. Learn how to use a wire tugger to pull wire through conduit. They're going to learn how to bend PVC pipe using a PVC heater. And then we also are going to do a lot of bending with this guy right here. A lot of half-inch EMT is something that we can burn through a lot of, and the students can get a lot of basic technique for bending conduit. So they do a lot of that. Different types of benders. We also got a hydraulic bender that we'll use for larger conduits, and our threading machine for threading the conduit. But the majority of our bending is going to be done with the hand bender, because once they learn how the bends work, then they should be able to bend on just about anything, depending on the different type of machine. Is just the basics of how that machine works, not the fundamentals of bending. We also have this portable fish tape where they can suck a string through a conduit. Another way of pulling wire is using a fish tape. This equipment here is great. We also will use a vacuum cleaner to suck string, because that's the way a lot of times it happens out in the field. Punching holes in boxes, there's many ways that can be done. There's times whenever a hole saw will work, but most of the time you want a clean hole, so you're going to use a punch to connect your pipes to your boxes. We'll show them how this works, let them use that, and then show them how much more efficient it is to spend a little bit more money and use a hydraulic or battery operated hole punch. Of course, we use various hand tools in here, and then we use our various power tools. Having a stud punch is huge. So we get into all of that, all of those different types of equipment in our methods 1, 2, and 3 class. Also in our wiring methods classes, we've got another building that has our stud frames and our steel structures that we wire up, that simulates wiring office buildings or simulating wiring rooms for residential. And then we also, back behind that building, have about 1,000 square foot house that we wire up in our residential class. And then we tear it out and wire it up again. So we wind up with a lot of scrap wire. We also have switchgear that we observe in our wiring methods 3 class. We're not going to get too much hands into those, but we're going to do a lot more of seeing what they're made up of. Okay, then of course we've got multiple tools that I don't have out. Then we've got these motor control trainers, which is, again, just like in our methods classes, we have the training boards that they can do multiple different configurations on the motor control trainers, they're able to get multiple different configurations using different types of timers, relays, push buttons, hands-on switches, lights, forwards, reverse, all kinds of different configurations that they can use on these trainers for motor starters. Okay, and then they just connect them to these motors, so they actually get to see whether the motor's going forward or going reverse, see whether the lights that they want on when the motor's running are on, whether the timer is working correctly, all of those different configurations that we can do with these motor controllers. And then again, once they get through the basic understanding of motor controls, which is the physical controls of motors, then in that fourth semester they get into their PLCs, where they've got similar controls, but the controls are going to be controlled by a programmable logic controller. So they're going to get some good foundational knowledge in PLCs. From the construction point of view, we want to learn how to install them, and we want to be able to troubleshoot them. We do a little bit of basic programming, but as far as designing programs, that's not really our specific area. Then, of course, over here we have more motor controller simulation type equipment, and multiple motors throughout in our storage areas that we look at nameplates and look at different sizes, and then we get in depth into the code of what we would need to install those types of motors. In our wiring methods classes, we also are going to use all kinds of testing equipment. In the first year, we're going to get a good understanding of how to use our basic multimeter to measure different units of electricity. And then as we progress, we're going to be able to, in the Methods 2 and Methods 3 classes, use testing equipment that's a little more specific to tracing circuits, testing the insulation of conductors, testing what the circuit is, what the function of the circuit is, whether it's functioning properly through a circuit analyzer. We can test the heat of breakers and of wires and different equipment, and also test for how efficient the ground is. Then we also got controls, testers for our low voltage equipment as well. Then, of course, in everything that we do, safety is huge. So we talk about safety from beginning to end. Now, is there any questions?
Yes, we do have a few questions. There's actually been a lot of questions, but Val has been in there answering a lot of those questions. So Val, we appreciate you getting some of those answers out there. One that we've had that hasn't been answered yet is, are there opportunities for women in this program and in this field?
Yes, it is. There's lots of opportunities for women. We've had several women take courses through the program. Not as many as we would like, of course, but there has been some, and they tend to do pretty well. We've had a few recently that started the program and that hadn't finished, but they they took some courses and they went directly out into the field and are actually doing pretty well in the field.
Excellent. Do you have anything that you'd kind of like to say as a final statement to any prospective students or their families?
Haven't thought about that one. This is a great program. It is a lot of work. It's not something that it is college level classes preparing you for, again, leadership positions. So there is a lot of information that we're going to try to get into your mind so it will prepare you for the future. Not just prepare you to be an average electrician, but to prepare you to be on a pathway to being an outstanding electrician.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. Heath, thank you for a wonderful tour of the program. Again, if you have any questions, even after we wrap this up, please go back and put those in the comments because we want to get those answered for you. Again, Val, thanks for jumping in there and answering those for us as we went. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, make sure you follow the Friends of Pete on Facebook and Instagram to keep up with these live tours as they go. Stay safe, stay true to you, and go Pokes.